Christine General.
Hey, real quickly,
Yes, sir.
quick introduction. My name's, I'm Deputy Lee Thomas. I am one of the PIOs with the Sheriff's Office, and I'm the Chief Deputy's assistant and aide. We're gonna have the family here,
Okay.
and the way we wanna do it, Sheriff, we're gonna make an opening statement, and then he's gonna give basically a timeline of the events, how they occurred all the way down to the actual arrest of the suspect. Okay, and then after he finished speaking, if there was questions, if you want questions, just identify yourself. Either myself or Deputy Jackson, one of the other PIOs will say, okay, identify who you are, what station you're with, and then ask the question. The sheriff will answer the question. We're gonna have the two lead investigators here. That will be Sergeant Peak and Corporal Rutledge. So if you got questions directly for them, you can ask them questions also. And then after the questions with the team, with the Sheriff's Office team, I'm not sure if the family wants to speak. We will allow them the opportunity to speak if they would like to. We'll prefer that you do not ask them any questions as far as the case, because the case is still being investigated.
You don't want them to share too many details that.
No, it's not, we don't want the family to share too many details. We share everything that we have with them, but, you know, this is still like a real, you know, a trying time for them. So any questions about the incident and stuff, we'll have our personnel answer that.
Okay.
Now, if you want to ask some questions about the child, you know, personal stuff, if they're willing to share that with you,
Okay.
we're okay with that. All right? Yes.
Means no more question.
Yeah.
That was that first thing that you sent out yesterday, gave to me. I'm like, y'all give me like the minimum amount of information. You're lucky I'm out here.
Right.
fun, some fun, information on him. Ask Lacey about Paul Powers. She had to work next to him for years.
Ew.
Ah.
She's so excited now, she has like, she says that she's in a little box.
Mm-hmm. They have a little black box.
Yeah.
Our station has a, what they call a bridge now, and that's just like a
Thank
circle
you.
desk with producers, assignment, editors, everybody, well, all sit in the whole round table. And, I always used to have to sit there and listen to the scanner, and those keypad for your computer would be so dirty. When you sit there, I was just like, no, bro, you're not sitting at this thing like it has a virus. You know, like those old keypads that's got all the space in it?
Oh, yeah, you can see everything in there.
Yeah, I was like, oh, man.
Well, in general, they don't let us in the newsroom anymore.
Oh, I hadn't been to
I think I've been inside in the newsroom one time in the last 16 months.
Yeah, I hadn't been to the newsroom. Well, no, we hadn't been there for a whole year.
I went in there one time, I was like, oh, my desk is still here.
Well, that's when I went in there, I was like, oh, look, plexiglass, it's everywhere, and we're still not allowed to use it.
No, they don't want to shut the building down. They do allow us to come into the building, but it's just like an
Yeah.
isolated room upstairs.
We can go to the bathroom, that's about it.
Okay. No, that doesn't work out in the building. It's just, an isolated room upstairs separate from the museum.
They set up a couple of port plugs for laptops out in the engineer's garage for us to go.
Oh, they started out with us with just like 8. They didn't even give us 10. They ran a line out of the, like the server room and allowed us to pull up in the parking lot, plug in that way, but they only had 2 ports.
Right, we have two.
And then, our supervisors had to, our chiefs had to find a tent, put a tent up, cause it was rain or the sun. And, yeah, we did that for about, a month or 2 last year. And then they finally let us back into the building. And then they restricted us from the building after the protest. A lot of people were upset about that, so then they let us back into the building.
Did they already
It's
send
not
out
like
the
that.
report for that?
I haven't got one from her. I mean, I would think that they would.
Family's gonna be, sir, if you can move this, I wanna move this table and put more seating for the family on this side.
Hey, y'all. Hi. Good, how y'all? Anybody else want water? You won't do that? Okay, then. My father's gonna have to turn out. Superhero.
Good.
I'm talking about the station.
Oh, I'm living on.
All right. 46. 46.
Don't seem like you're in a hurry.
Oh,
I mean, that's not right. Yeah, start the next one. I mean, that's the usual. I try and go anywhere I go. Usually at least about 30 minutes ahead of time. The traffic here so far. I remember they tried to schedule me to be at a press conference, leaving Atlanta, and then go to Alpharetta, like 30-minute time frame. I was like, y'all know this probably ain't gonna work. Yeah, just go. Okay. By the time I got up to 400 along Sandy Springs, traffic started backing up. I was like, we got traffic. I can wait here, be late to it, be late to it.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay. We were not going to say his name unless we got permission from the family. Are y'all good with that? Okay.
All right, y'all ready? All right. Well, good morning. I'm Eric Levitt. That's E-R-I-C Levitt, L-E-V-E-T-T. I'm the sheriff of Rockdale County. On Monday, March the 22nd, 2021, around 8:29 p.m., deputies received a hit and run call from a passerby. Approximately a minute later, around 8:30 p.m., a deputy arrived and began to call fire EMS. Upon their arrival, they discovered a young man body on the side of the road. During that time, we received another call from the witness who was riding his bicycle with the young man, and we was able to talk to that young man who was 12 years of age, and he gave us a description of a vehicle. We began to place a lookout on the vehicle and search the area, and continued throughout the entire night and even through the next day. The 12-year-old told us that the description of the vehicle was a vehicle just like his grandfather vehicle. And when we received the type of vehicle that his grandfather drove, that's when we was able to place a make and model of that vehicle, which was a Toyota Camry, later determined a silver Toyota Camry. Deputies began to check flock cameras in the area and throughout the county, and we were able to locate a silver Toyota Camry on the flock. As we continued the investigation the next day, two of my investigators who were located behind me with good work was back on the scene conducting further investigation on this case when they saw the suspect vehicle, or a vehicle that matched the description of the suspect vehicle going by. One of the investigators, Corporal Rutledge, jumped in his vehicle and went and made a traffic stop on that vehicle down the street from the scene, where he later determined that there was consistent damage as to the damage that we believe that was on the vehicle that struck the 10-year-old. During the course of that investigation, we detained the driver and the vehicle and transported the vehicle and the driver to the station, and further our investigation where we determined that in fact was the vehicle that struck our 10-year-old child here in Rockdale County, and also later determined that the suspect that was occupying that vehicle at the time was our suspect. As we know that it is a tragedy to strike any human being or anyone, especially a child. But to leave the scene of an accident when you strike someone is just not acceptable in my mind, in my heart, or in my county, or any county for that fact. And so I just want to commend the lead investigators here and all of the members of the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office as to their prompt investigation in solving this case. Now, this case is still under investigation, as I explained to the family on the night that this young man was struck, that it will take us some time, and because we want to conduct a thorough investigation. And so they are going to continue this investigation, so I may not be able to answer all the questions that you all have at this time. That's all that I have.
Sheriff, Kristen Holly with Channel 2. Are you able to say what happened leading up to the accident when the 10-year-old was struck? I know the 12-year-old was there. Were they both riding on the sidewalk? What happened?
So they were leaving a local store in the area, and they were riding down, and part of that side of the road, which was 138 in Ebenezer. Part of Ebenezer Road is there is a turning lane in front of a daycare, and there is a small portion of a sidewalk. How they were struck is I don't have the answers to that as of yet because it's still under investigation. But they were struck in that area.
Do you know if this was alcohol related with the driver? Are you guys investigating that at all? Or?
We do not know if any substance abuse was involved in this case at all.
Are you going to release the suspect's photo, name, anything like that?
Once we conclude the investigation, we will release further information as to the suspect name and any other details on this case as to how he was struck and so forth.
I mean, what kind of charges are we looking at here?
At the most right now, currently, and this could change, you're at least looking at vehicular homicide and leaving the scene of an accident.
Can you talk a little about those flock cameras? It seems to be one of the puzzle pieces to solving this case, I assume.
Well, you know, flock cameras are a tremendous resource and tool that a lot of counties has gone to use, and that flock camera has solved many cases, from entering autos to robberies to homicides to stolen vehicles and burglaries and any other crime that you can imagine. And what it does, it takes a photo of the vehicle along with the tag, and it provides a pretty detailed description of a vehicle that is going by in the area. And it also, if you will identify the registered owner of that vehicle. And so that is, again, one of the ways that we were able to identify this particular vehicle.
And in this particular case, the 12-year-old wasn't hurt at all in this?
The 12-year-old was not hurt.
Hi, Chris Francis, Fox 5 News. What was the condition of the vehicle?
I don't want to go into the details of the condition of the vehicle because, again, it's still under investigation. When you start doing comparison, unfortunately, I have to say this, comparison from his body to the damages of the vehicle, and then, you know, the evidence that was collected on the scene and so forth and so on. So that may be some information that I can give out later after the conclusion of the investigation, but I'm unable to give that out right now.
Has the suspect admitted to the crime?
The suspect has not said very much. In fact, she lawyered up. So maybe we'll have an opportunity to speak with her with her lawyer present, but she has not admitted to anything.
Did she live in that area?
No, she actually lives in DeKalb County, but she does work in that area.
Hayden Brown with 11 News. You said that the driver that you arrested was connected to hitting the child. How did you all make that connection?
Well, again, after we received the description from the 12-year-old witness, and after we received the color of the vehicle, the make and model, and then we checked the flock cameras to see if there was a make and model of that description of the vehicle that was given, we were able to locate a couple of Toyota Camrys, silver in color. And again, it provided tag number and registering information. However, prior to us actually following up on that particular lead, we were able to follow up on one of the leads of one of those Toyota Camrys and ruled out that it was not the vehicle that struck the 10-year-old young man. As stated earlier, when the investigators to my right returned to the scene, they knew what type of vehicle that they were looking for, make, model, an approximate year. And when a vehicle drove by them, fitting that description, he immediately jumped in his patrol vehicle and went after that vehicle, made a traffic stop. And based upon the evidence that he was able to see and collected, compared it to the vehicle, he believed that that was a possibility that vehicle was the vehicle that could have been involved in this accident. But that gives us enough probable cause to detain the driver and detain the vehicle and continue further investigation on it.
Yes, I understand that, but you mentioned the person that was driving and who you did detain at the time was connected to the crime. I'm just curious of how you were able to make that connection with the driver.
Right, so let's just say that reviewing the flock cameras and able to see partial of the driver, speaking with the employer of the suspect as to the time she arrived, the time she left work, the time that vehicle went through flock cameras, so forth and so on. We was able to put pieces together. Without going into details, that's all I'm going to release.
You can put her in the place.
We can put her in that place. Yes, sir.
Sheriff, are you able to say,
Do you have an age range?
Of the driver, 27 years of age.
are you able to say, or did she say why she left? Typically, if you hit someone, you know, if it's an accident, you stay and you try to administer aid. Did she say why she left? I mean, that's kind of a big deal.
It is a big deal, and I would like to hear why she left, but, you know, the fact that we are confident that she's the driver and that she's the that vehicle was the vehicle that struck him, I think she owes the family an explanation, and we would love to hear that explanation. There is no excuse in that I can think of that of anybody striking a human being and leaving. So to answer your question, she has not given us a reason or excuse. She lawyered up, And I hope that at some point that she would at least give the family an explanation as to why she left, so they can at least try to receive some closure from that.
Can you describe where and how the arrest went down?
So after Corporal Rutledge determined that the vehicle that he made the traffic stop on matched and possibly was the vehicle, we detained that vehicle. We towed it, we detained her and transported her to the station for further investigation. And upon that further investigation, again, gave us enough probable cause to effect an arrest.
Is she in jail right now without bond, or was?
Yes, she's currently in jail now.
And that arrest happened?
And let me make sure that's correct, Yes.
That arrest happened at the scene, so she drove back past the scene that day?
If, the next day, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, she drove back by because she was heading to work. Is that correct? She was heading to work with, again, in that area. And it appears that that's the route that she normally takes. Is that it?
Were any family members went to call share about the?
Well, I think from my understanding, the grandfather is going to speak on the family's behalf. Is that correct? Okay.
I won't take any questions. I just want to make a statement. Upon our arrival at the scene, Sheriff Levitt personally told us that this crime would not go unsolved and that they were on it right then, and within a few hours of the incident, they had leads that they were investigating. And yesterday, these two gentlemen, officers right here, personally came to my daughter's home and told us that they had a suspect and the vehicle in custody. And so everything that Sheriff Leverett told us and indicated to us, and they were all totally professional. Everyone that was involved in the investigation was totally professional. And we thank them for their service. Bruce, B-R-U-C-E-W, McNair, M-C-N-A-I-R.
And just to be correct, you're the grandfather of the?
Yes, I'm the grandfather. And the parents, they don't want his name divulged, but, and also I want to say that all of the residents of the Sugar Hill community were totally supportive. And I believe there was someone out there last night filming a visual that we had. And I would also like to say that a lot of children from that community shop at that store, particular store. And it would be great. There could be more lighting, more sidewalk area for the people who may not have a vehicle to access the places of business in that area. Okay,
So,
thank.
I know this is really difficult. Are you able to just tell us a little bit about your grandson so we know what he was like?
He never had a cross word with anyone. Everyone who met him totally liked him. They had just been in that community maybe 30 days. And he started back going to school 2 days a week because, you know, some children go a couple days a week and then they do virtual. And he had just started riding the bus. To give you an indication of his personality, bus driver came to my daughter's house. And he had only been on that bus for a couple of days. And she wanted to give her condolences to the family. And in the position that she's in, she told us that you can tell the good ones. and he was a good one. And,
All right, thank you all for your time. We appreciate it.
thank you.
As something comes available, you can reach out to one of our public information officers, and we will provide all the local media outlets with updates. All right, thank you.
Napkins. All right, thank y'all.